Right. That took a while to come on, it seemed. I have a full battery. So today is the 6th of November. It's a Sunday and it's 20 past 2 in the afternoon. And I came back from Ireland Friday the 4th, just the day before yesterday. And I did do a walk into Orizon yesterday. And I pretty much went through my way of processing the holiday. I kind of spoke to myself at length about the build-up, really, because I kind of have a strange fascination with the build-up of these things and how, in the end, the build-up gets forgotten once the holiday is over. But before I go on to that, just want to say that the little device here is saying 1 because although I had 11 or 12 files on this, which went all the way back to October 2021, the day before I left, I went to the Connemara and I had this idea I'd try and download one or two and upload one or two to my account, and I ended up uploading them all. So I was very pleased with myself for managing to do that, and I cleared the device completely. So I'm completely up to date now. Everything I've ever said is more or less out there on my Dislife account. All the audio that there's ever been, more or less, over the last, 3 years, I guess. Since January, February 2020, I think, just before COVID I started. And so I'm back. Flo is back Tuesday. So there's still the build-up for Flo to come back. And in terms of my time in Ireland, it was very close to what I had kind of imagined it would be. So there wasn't really many surprises, I arrived home pretty late. It was about 9 o'clock when the bus got in and it was spilling rain, and my mum came and collected me when I got back to her place. She had prepared some chicken stew, which I had. And the next day we went to Costa, where we met Mary and Anne. And then in the afternoon we went to the Arboretum. Martina was on holidays till Sunday, so I had the first few days, it was just me and my mother and the cat. And didn't do much wandering around on my own, to be honest. I went with my mother, like I said, to Costa in the Arboretum and watched lots of TV, quiz shows and things. The Chase, Tipping Point, Dad's Army, lots of Dad's Army, the usual. And I watched some other stuff about serial killers and stuff. There's lots of stuff like that on at night. The only thing was a little bit unexpected was it was Anne Egan's birthday, and so we all went to Julie's house. First time I'd ever been there, a bit out the country. And whilst there, I met. We brought Kieran with us, and Tony was there, and Liam turned up, and Peter, Julie's husband, and John Byrne, and Lily, and Mary, and Soren. So that was a bit tense when I arrived, having all those people there, because I wasn't really I hadn't planned for that. But it was cool. It was cool to go through an evening like that without drinking. And then, of course, Sunday night, Martina came back from her holiday with John. And so she was with me for the next week. You know, Sunday, she came Sunday night, so she was there Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And I had a good time with Martina. We did something for the first time. She drove me in the car. It's the first time I've ever been in a car with Martina. And she drove us to the Arboretum and to Ratwood, and we had many a good conversation. I spoke to her a lot about my, situation here, and sometimes the slight difference in the culture between the French and the Irish. Bonjour. There's a little family on bikes with a big dog. So yeah, I told her a lot. So to be honest, Martina at least, not my mum so much, because she really is, and I know because I'm similar, everything goes in one ear and out the other. But Martina, no. Martina is like Flo. Things don't go in one ear and out the other. They go in there and they stay there. So Martina is well aware of all the stuff here and the potential sale of the Connemara and what's going to happen next, and the problems with getting a job for me and my age and all those stuff. So one thing I think is there now that perhaps wasn't in the past, and that is, if I ever call Martina or my mother and say, Flo's just left, she's gone to Spain for a year, gone to India for a year, and I'm packing up, I'm coming back. It mightn't be the best news, what they want to hear, but one thing for sure, it will not be a surprise anymore. That much I'm pretty sure of. It won't be a surprise. Martina has been prepped. But who knows, maybe that won't happen. But I had a good time. I didn't meet my brother. I had plenty of time with Justine. Justine, who's very, very pregnant and was due to give birth, actually. She's due to give birth over the next few days. So I saw her house for the first time, and her boyfriend, whose name escapes me. Like Tony Egan's wife, whose name just continually escapes me. Every day in Ireland, literally not a day went by when I didn't ask half a dozen times, what's the name of Tony's wife? And I still can't fucking get it. It's just one of those words will not sink in. I don't know if it's Mary Ann or Anne Marie or something like that. It's a double-barrel name, I think. Anyway, who cares? I met Jamie McGill. I had a good conversation with him. Actually, a great conversation with Jamie. Because it was very philosophical. We spoke about... This is really a conversation that I like to have. About getting older and about your empathy changing and about understanding things a little more. And understanding where anger comes from. Anger is like... Jamie said he got very angry sometimes. He went down the streets and he was kind of thinking if he met someone he would very happily get in a fight. And I was saying the anger probably comes from us being angry at the world because something is not making us happy and we want to blame something for that. What else? Like I said, I really exhausted the subject yesterday. I spoke a lot, mainly about the build-up, because the build-up to this whole thing I found it's an interesting thing to remember, because perhaps if you remember it, you can maybe be slightly better the next time, you go off. For instance, I spent so long packing my little bag, wondering if I was bringing enough stuff, and in the end, I brought too much stuff. I had about 6 pairs of socks. I'd say I wore 2. 3 jeans, I just needed 2. I must have bought 5 t-shirts. I just again wore 2. Really, it's just a change of clothes is all you need there. And you know, I've enjoyed the time. My mother did some washing of clothes. But I drove to Manosque. I was about an hour and a half too early. I waited in the cafe, had a coffee. I'm trying to ingrain these moments, because if you kind of put them there now and you go over them, they will tend to come back. You know, they'll stay. And it was quite something I experienced, staying in that little cafe, having a coffee and just waiting for the bus. Then getting the bus and trying to find the gate, getting the plane and then trying to find the bus from Carlow. That was probably one of the most complicated things. And then that long trip from the airport to Carlow. It's always the longest fucking thing. And then there was kind of an epic trip back, honest to God. Because I had to catch a bus at 2:30 in the morning on Friday, the 4th. So obviously there's no going to bed if you're going to catch a bus at 2:30. And my mother stayed up with me, then drove me down to Carpenter's where the bus was stopping, just in front of it, a little further down. And the bus came 3:35 on the dot. And I got on and I listened to some music, and that was really nice. Being on the bus listening to music at that hour is just really nice. And unlike the journey from it in Dublin Airport to Carlow, the journey the other way around was so fast. It just seemed to... we just arrived so quick. I thought we'd arrived in Dublin and we'd actually arrived in the airport. Then I went through and I had the security thing, and that was a bit odd. They were asking me to kind of put my jacket in one box and my other stuff in another box and open up the toiletries. And afterward I thought for a second I'd left my mobile phone somewhere, and it was a moment of panic. I couldn't find my phone when I was putting on my jackets and stuff. But in kind of a hurry to get off the out of security place, I put my phone with my toiletries, so it was okay. But it made me think, you lose your phone in these situations, you're fucked. Because all the tickets are on the phone. Not sure what you do. There's no flying without your boarding pass. And, well... So, I got to the gate with like an hour and a half to spare. And I just waited. 4 o'clock in the morning, 4:30 in the morning, 5, 5:30, and started boarding at around 5:45. And then that plane took off. And that trip was pretty quick as well. Then we landed and I had to wait 2 hours more for a bus from Marseille to Manosque. That went pretty quick. And then the bus from Marseille to Manosque, that was the slowest part, bizarrely, because it's not really a long trip. It's about an hour and a half, but it just seemed to go on forever. And then I found my car, and it was all very weird, because, you know, when you've been away for a while, everything seems different somehow. The car looked different, the parking looked different, and I hadn't driven the car in a few days, so that was a little alien for a few minutes. And then I drove home, and it's all a bit stressful, because you're wondering, is the car going to work? Is the bus going to stop? Am I going to fall asleep on the bus? But, am I going to miss the plane? All the way back, you're kind of... You're thinking about these things. And then even when I'm getting out of the car in Trullier, I'm thinking, is the house okay? Is Bob still alive? Did the Manleys forget to feed him? Is it going to be full of mice? Is it going to stink of rotting dead mice? Crazy. And when I got in, the house was fine, and Bob was fine. And that's what I was kind of thinking to keep, because the whole experience of the travelling there and back is really an experience in itself. The weather in Ireland was terrible. It rained all the time. dark black skies, cold wind compared to where I am now. I'm walking, there's no wind, blue sky. It's hot. I mean, this would be the equivalent of a perfect day in the middle of July in Ireland. Uh, 15 minutes, right. I don't think I have much more to say, to be honest, just to say that I think I may have said it in another tape that I just uploaded before I left, but I kind of fell to pieces after dropping Flo off when I got back to the house. I got a lump in my throat, and when I started to try and talk to myself, I couldn't because I was going like that, and I cried my eyes out for about 20 minutes. It was very strange. And she's back Tuesday. And we're supposed to open the Connemara Wednesday, and I'm puzzled by that. I don't want to bring any of this to Flo's attention yet, not when she's away. But I'm wondering, is she not going to have jet lag coming back? And I'm wondering, are we going to have time enough to do all the shopping in just that one evening? When exactly is she coming back? Because there's nothing in the Connemara. I mean, we've got to... So I don't think... I think it's going to be a bit of a rush to do everything, and it's going to throw us, especially Flo, straight back into the stress-fill. You know? I was saying that to Martina, and it's such a perfect example. You just think, Jesus, why don't you just close the damn Connemara for a couple more days so you can come back and adjust slowly, you know? You come back, you do nothing for a day or two, and then on Friday we go do all the shopping and the preparation, and we open Saturday. I don't... But I don't want to get into that. So I'm walking through the houses here, where the big dog barks at me. And I'll soon be in the Connemara. And I guess that's it really, just a summary of the holiday, because I know these things, well, they're nice to kind of remember for the future, because maybe the details you'll forget. Although, to be honest, there's not much you could forget, because it's the same as the other holidays. It really revolves around talking to my mother, watching quiz shows, going to Costa, and nowadays the added feature of driving here and there with Martina. And in the future, Justine and her baby, I guess. Adios.